right, we're started.
Great. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to March and our March PRAB meeting. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'd like to call our meeting to order right on time tonight. And it's a beautiful night, so we'd like to take care of our business and hopefully get outside a little bit more. So thank you for joining us tonight. And we're going to get started this evening with our land acknowledgement, and Meredith has agreed to read that for us tonight. So Meredith, I'll hand it over to you.
Sure. Thank you to City Council and the Denver American Indian Commission for creating this acknowledgement and allowing DPR to use it. Denver Parks and Recreation honors and acknowledges that the land on which we reside is the traditional territory of the Ute, Cheyenne, and Arapaho peoples. We also recognize the 48 contemporary tribal nations that are historically tied to the lands that make up the state of Colorado. We honor elders past, present, and future, and those who have stewarded this land throughout generations. We also recognize that government, academic, and cultural institutions were founded upon and continue to enact exclusions and erasures of Indigenous peoples. May this acknowledgement demonstrate a commitment to working to dismantle ongoing legacies of oppression and inequities and recognize the current and future contributions of Indigenous communities in Denver. Let us continue to be good stewards of the land and honor our past, both today and into the future.
Awesome. Thank you. And we hope to call actions towards those words, but thank you for that. And I'd like to also read our guiding document that we found, and just to remind us what we're here to do. We, as the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, are here to advise the staff of Parks and Rec. We are here as volunteers to represent each city district, the mayor's office, and DPS. We are here to listen to ideas and suggestions from the community. We are here to respect new ideas and constructive criticism. We are here to help create the vision of a better and more diverse parks and recreation system. So, thank you for joining us tonight once again. And we would like to begin tonight with reviewing our February minutes and asking if there are any edits or adjustments that need to be made. Florence, go ahead. And Florence, thank you for taking those. You took those notes.
And I could keep looking at them and find a change to make every time. But the one question I do have, because I saw throughout the document that every time we capture Marlene's last name, we spell it in a different way. And so I am just asking, is Marlene on yet? If we could just have her let us know how the spelling should be, because we got spaces in there. Sometimes we don't, so that's it. I'm sorry, it's a nitpicking, but I just clean up the record a little bit.
Awesome. I don't see her on yet, but I think we'll double check, and I think, names are important, so let's get it right. So, yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you noticed that, Florence.
I'll look her up on the Denver School Board while we're doing this.
Great, and then we can replace all of the minutes of the last month with that and make sure we go forward as such.
So I was absent, but my name is spelled incorrectly on the document. If we're trying to clean up names.
Yes.
Awesome. Please. Yes.
I see the spelling. I'm sorry about that.
It's fine. It's just a small typo, but if we're looking at that, I see that.
That's great.
Thank you.
Yes, awesome. And Florence, thanks for taking minutes last month with just a very quick notice to do that. So very, very thankful.
And appreciate whatever Kate does with these notes all the time. So thank you, Kate.
Yep.
So Marlene is spelled Marlene, and then Day is spelled capital DE space capital LA space capital ROSA.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Official. Nice. All right. Well, any other edits? Oh, here's Marlene now. Marlene, we just fixed your name on the minutes last month.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. All right. So I would hear a motion to accept the minutes with this adjustment of fixing the names. I see Tate saying yes, so we hear that motion. And Kendra seconds it. Great. Great. All those in favor of accepting the minutes, say aye or just raise your hand if you're visible. Great. Any noes or abstentions?
I abstain.
Great. Thank you, Kate. Since you weren't here, that makes sense. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us tonight. We're here tonight to talk about a few things, and we'll get started with our general public comment. And I believe we have 4 public speakers. Is that correct, Arthur?
That's correct.
Awesome.
Our first speaker tonight is Lisa Robinson. Lisa?
Let's make sure she's got audio. And I'll just review that we have...
I was muted.
Great, there you go. Welcome. Hi,
Thank
Lisa.
you.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Lisa.
You'll have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
All right, thank you, Arthur. Due to Mayor Johnson's sanctuary city policy, there were deep DPR budget cuts early 2024. Front desks were left unstaffed, and I saw empty front desks at many rec centers. On 4/19/24 at La Familia, was attacked by member Gary Gadsden right in front of volunteer staff Dave Lynch, who runs the pickleball. Lynch was the only staff in the building that day. On 4/26/24, I tried to report Gaston's attack to staff Sandoval, and Lynch tried to stop me from reporting, and then Lynch attacked me on the pickleball court. I had meetings with Lynch, Sandoval, Julie Knoll, Leslie Picard. The results were the meetings with I should be suspended for reporting on others' behaviors. Jolon Clark emailed me only one time, 6/4/24, asking if I needed help with the corrupt appeal process, and I replied yes. I'm disabled and I do need help. Clark never emailed me again or responded to my emails. I was suspended from all rec centers, all parks, and cannot view a recreational activity for 38 days for complaining about being attacked. 5/31/24, I went to record on the public space. Picard called the police and told them to arrest me for standing in Daly Park, but they refused. At Washington Park on 2/7/25, I record a pickleball rule change meeting, and Washington Park Supervisor Sam Benavides said I made him feel uncomfortable, so John Martinez gave me a 3-month suspension for freedom of the press. 2/14/25, I went back to Washington Park to record on the public space. The police were called, but they supported me. I made 2 videos, and my part 1 video got no reaction. After I posted my part 2 video, John Martinez gave me a 1-year suspension, clearly retaliation for posting my video, which is freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom to redress my government. John Martinez gave himself a permanent job and a $40,000 raise when Mayor Hancock was leaving.
Lisa, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I just want to remind you that we do not in this forum tolerate any personal attacks on individuals. So telling your account of the story is one thing, and that's fine, but I am going to stop you every time that you are attacking or insulting any DPR employee. You may continue.
All right, well, he gave himself a permanent job and a $40,000 raise. And I hope that doesn't cut into my time. Jolon's talking. If Martinez was in a job he could lose, he wouldn't retaliate against an elderly disabled woman. Martinez retaliates against me by suspending me for 38 days by putting paddle stacking papers on a bench. There were 2 suspensions in La Familia. There was a thief that stole caught on camera stealing cash from a wallet, and then also the next week stealing a credit card. This thief was already on a suspension from Montclair, so that suspension was extended. The thief got 2-week suspension from 2 rec centers for 2 thefts. I get a 38-day suspension from all rec centers. All parks cannot view a recreational activity for putting paddle stacking papers on a bench that had been there months before and just missing 1 day. I got many hours of video, many requests filled through DPR Core public records request because it takes minutes to download video from DPR's state-of-the-art system. Beginning November 1st, Gilkison and Clark refused all my public records requests, knowing that I will not pay their extortion. They tricked me into paying $231.
Lisa, again, if you're going to use language like that, I'm going to have to ask you to stop.
But it's true, Jolon.
It is not. It is a lie. And that's
it is not.
In this space. So thank you very much. But if you can continue, if you can.
I have freedom of speech, Jolon.
You have
freedom of speech. The clock. This is so unfair. My constitutional rights are being violated by you, Jolon Clark.
Okay, our next public comment is from Vandana. See, Vandana. Can you unmute yourself yet, Vandana?
Okay, I am here. Thank you. I'm going to start my own timer just so I can keep track of time. Okay, thank you. Thanks for your time today, everybody. With that, let me begin. The goals of public parks is in promoting inclusivity, ensuring that everyone, regardless of background, ability, or identity, feels welcome, safe, and valued in shared outdoor spaces. When we say accessible to all, I think it's really important to include the entity that is all. Each individual has different needs. We can take a look at each of us, even here in this room, and admit that each of us have a different way of decompression and connection, which is the primary use of parks. And this brings me to the discussion of Denver parks and off-leash dogs. The number one rule at Cheeseman Parks is all pets must be on leash, among prohibiting the use of firearms, overnight camping, drug use, etc. When I go to the parks to enjoy my form of decompression, which includes walking, running, or enjoying a picnic with friends, to me, an off-leash dog isolated from all when the park is empty is harmless in comparison to the other activities and rules I mentioned. Today, I asked the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board to compromise with a group of individuals that are not included in the enjoyment of the park in their own way and feeling inclusive. Friendly dogs that thrive playing and interacting with other friendly dogs, as well as their owners who build a sense of community as fellow dog owners, are definitely a group that is not included in this. It is a much better use of resources to monitor the safety and well-being of all who would like to participate in the parks. I look to the compromise as something as small as park rangers ticketing and enforcing with discretion, or off-leash hours. With that, I'll conclude. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Vandana. Our next comment is from Jason McLaughlin. Jason, I have two users with your name on the attendee list. Hopefully I'm letting the right person in. Jason?
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Praise and thanks for the accomplishments in 2024 with Denver Parks and Recreation and Polar Planet at Barnum Park, which the members of the board can actually acknowledge through the photo story submission shared earlier through Arthur Gilkinson. Thank you, Arthur. If we can enable the chat, I'd be happy to drop the 2025 program in there. Do you think that'd be possible?
I can add it to the chat from your email. So
here, well, I was going to say I have something here. I think I'm going to drop this in the chat very efficiently, so that everybody can see what it is we're talking about here. The most remarkable accomplishment in 2024 was not the 6,000 gallons of trash blitzed in Barnum Ponds, nor the certificate of recognition signed by Executive Director Jolon Clark here. Can't really see that. We're very proud of that. Acknowledging our tireless effort over the past few years. There goes my document. 1 second. I beg your pardon. Over the past few years, but rather Denver Parks' continued investment in usable assets, namely the 2 stand-up paddleboards or subs purchased exclusively for Barnum Park's continued community cleanups and stored in the shed on site. Therefore, as we enter into the recreation season for 2025, we are thrilled to have established such a strong rapport with our Queen City of the Plains leadership. However, we are here today to seek advice in terms of a new era of leadership under Director Martinez. We have been informed by the Chief of Staff that DPR will no longer be providing the former support. Parameters have been set and Polar Planet is not sure if it can achieve the same program goals it accomplished in 2024. This comes in simple and pure form of a wheeled apparatus. You see, DPR provided us with automobile pickup truck support on site. We are asking the board to advise the Chief of Staff to please reconsider if any wheeled apparatus may be provided so that we may provide transport the trash from the shore of the ponds to the dumpster point, where the chief has indicated will be the only place that staff collects trash. Barnum Ponds is home to at least a dozen unique species of birds and multiple mammals. Ultimately, our goal is to eliminate plastic pollution in order to provide restorative urban wildlife conservation. The parameters set forth for 2025 are concerning only in those terms. Will we please have any type of wheels? A wheelbarrow? We'd be happy to agree to those terms after receiving feedback on the topic presently or in the future. Thank you for your consideration.
And that person will come forward.
Thank you, Jason.
How's that sound?
Our next speaker is Sylvia Raskin. Sylvia.
You better look up anti-slap.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Awesome. Hi, my name is Sylvia. I'm 39 and I play at Gates Tennis Center. So this is in regards to the question of Gates Tennis Center and pickleball at the facility. I've been playing there twice a week for 2 years since I moved to Denver. I am very supportive of pickleball at Gates Tennis Center. One, it's a really healthy activity. The Mayo Clinic 2018 study found that racket sports can extend people's life expectancy between 6 and 9 years. Second is that it's really all ages. I play open play, so I play with strangers most of the time. But people have become friends. I can tell you the names of 30 people that I see regularly at Gates Tennis Center playing pickleball. And this is everyone from kids to senior citizens. There are people who are out there who are 80, 90 years old, and they're really good at pickleball. If someone comes on with a knee brace, they're about to kick your butt. And Gates pickleball is very affordable. It's about $6 to $10 for 2 hours of play. And that's compared to some of the private facilities, some of the private indoor facilities that can be $20 to $40 an hour and just don't have the same camaraderie and spirit and easygoing nature of Gates. And that's because I believe Gates is a public facility, and that's why it nurtures such great community. That's all I want to say, so I'm really supportive of pickleball and the facility at Gates. Thanks.
Thank you, Sylvia. And that concludes our public comment for tonight.
Right. Thank you for managing that, Arthur, and thank you to everyone who spoke tonight. Thank you, Lisa, for coming and talking to us about important stuff, and I know Jolon will be in contact. Vandana, thank you for coming to bring that to our attention. We have committees, and I want to suggest that we have a committee that's addressed dogs in parks, and we'll have that on our topic tracker. And thank you, Jason. We'll certainly follow up with you sometime in the near future. And Sylvia, thank you for your kind words and support of pickleball at Gates. So thanks everyone for joining us tonight. And I forgot to introduce our youth participants who are joining us here tonight. I meant to do that when we started the meeting, but I'd just like to take a quick moment to do that. And let's see, I know Riley is here. Thank you for joining us, Riley. I'm not sure, I haven't seen Jack yet or Tasneen, but I did see somebody else. And there's Tasneen, hello. Thank you for joining us tonight. And then Lily, I wasn't sure if Lily was here. I think that's all the youth that was joining us tonight. So thank you. And thank you for our mentors who have stepped up to be a conduit for our youth membership. All right, moving forward with our agenda, we have a very special agenda item tonight, and one of probably our biggest roles as Parks and Rec Advisory Board is actually helping determine how the budget looks for the department, and it's one of our big jobs. So
30
the committee has been
public
working on this
records
for quite some
requests.
time.
And he tells
We
me
talked
it's
about this
going
at
to
a
take
retreat
4
last
hours.
month.
When
Yes,
I got
last month.
3 hours.
A year ago. No, it feels like
3
a long time
hours
ago.
on 4
We
cameras,
talked about
no
this and got
charge,
input
because
from
it takes
everyone. It
minutes
was a
to
really good
download.
process.
But when
And,
he and Jolon decided they didn't want to give me public records anymore, and they're breaking the law, there's no penalty. But everyone provides public records except for the mayor's office
with feedback.
and
We
DPR.
sent out a Google Doc last week with the
And the
draft
thing
on
is,
it.
I'm
Asked
trying
for
to
any
investigate
input,
corruption
and we
of
put
Jolon,
any input we got
Arthur,
into the
John
document.
Martinez,
And
Leslie
now,
Picard.
I think
These
I'll
people are
pass it over to the
corrupt.
committee,
And
then
I could
Arthur
prove
has
it
prepared on
if
the
I could
screen,
get the
so we can
Denver
kind of
Public
talk through
Records.
each element and hopefully
I could
make
prove
any
it.
quick edits that might need
But
to be
I'm
made so that
denied
we can
public
hopefully vote on that
records. They break the
tonight. But
law.
otherwise, if we find some things that need to be adjusted and need to make major edits, then we can bring it back to next month after it goes back to committee. But hopefully we've gotten enough input and we have a draft that we can really feel good about. Arthur, can you make that bigger in your screen? All right, Kendra, go ahead if you want to kind of talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so I started talking about this in October, and so we had some committee meetings. I reached out to all of you to see if you had questions. We submitted many questions to Jolon Clark's team, and they got back to us with answers. We reviewed those, and we created a presentation that we talked about at the retreat. And I took all those sticky notes home and wrote up the notes from the meeting and created these, I feel like there's I haven't looked on it in a week. There are 11 recommendations, and I made them topical, so hopefully you all looked at it when Lee sent it out, or Lee or Arthur sent it out last week. But I feel like we captured what was discussed at the retreat. I did not write a conclusion, but I'm happy to do that. But the goal is really to get everyone's feedback and hopefully approval so we can send it to them sooner rather than later as they're preparing their budget request for 2026. And I will leave it at that.
Yeah, and I was real quick, Fran, and then I'd look to have you speak. But what I'd like to do is actually go through each of them, kind of read through them. It's about a 1.5-page document, so I think it's worth our time just quickly reading through each of them and opening it up for any last discussion, and then moving on. But go ahead, Fran.
That's exactly what I was going to ask for. Thank you.
Great. All right. So Arthur, actually, if you can just go to the top, I'll just start reading this to the top. And I know we're all able to read, but that's for those of us that might be driving. I know we have a couple board members who are driving right now and they don't have their camera on. So it just starts with a quick thank you for your service to Director Clark. Thank you for your service to our city and to our commitment to Denver Parks and Recreation. You and your staff are very appreciated. Denver's parks, trails, and recreation are some of the best in the nation. The members of the PRAB are honored to serve as appointees to the board. We take our work as advisors to the department very seriously. We all bring unique perspectives from our various communities to the board and our decisions. We've spent several months working on these 2026 budget recommendations or priorities. This year, we took a slightly different perspective than in years past and looked at how Denver and the department are changing. Below are our recommendations or priorities for the 2026 budget. Our first one was the special revenue funds, and that's just DPR related special revenue funds should be used for the purposes that they were created for. They should not be used to offset cuts or shortfalls in the general fund. Examples include Mountain Parks Special Revenue Fund, Voter Approved Legacy Fund, Forestry Special Revenue Fund, and Recreation Special Revenue Fund. Any thoughts or comments about numero uno, number 1?
So what does the every dollar mean? Is there something behind this paragraph?
Great. Kendra, do you want to explain how we used that?
Yeah, so those are the values of the Parks Department from the game plan. We have every dollar, every person, uniquely Denver, and every drop. And so just like last year, we are putting which one of those values or multiple values apply to those specific recommendations.
Thank you. And I think, actually thinking about that, it might make sense at the top to just put a quick sentence about how we're doing that. But yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. All right, our next one, and I'll just kind of skim over this, but to address equity, this is new parks. To address equity, land acquisition is a top priority to ensure that 100% of Denverites live within a 10-minute walk or roll to a high-quality park, and especially in current and planned dense areas. And this is part of the look at the Denver growing and changing. So the first bullet is about acquiring Park Hill Golf Course. And we know that a tremendous amount of resources will be needed to create a park and recreation amenities. We recommend funding and resources for projects already in the DPR pipeline should not be reallocated to the Park Hill Golf Course, nor should they be delayed because of the golf course. So that's one thing we talked about. And then the next bullet, I'm not going to read completely, but it is about the South Platte River offering many opportunities for possible development and existing partnerships and focus that is already working on projects throughout that corridor and considering.
You better not interrupt me. Do you understand me, Clark?
Comments or questions about number 2?
I'm disabled. I read on your website you give more time for disabled. If he interrupts me, I'm starting over. And this meeting will go on forever. He is to be quiet.
I remember when Jolon was still even with
he should do what he did from June 4th and ignore me, because that's what he did for 9 months. Never answered one of my emails. Not one. So why is he all chatty now? So he can put me in my place?
Maybe we can get that on a future agenda to bring the team in to talk about.
Yeah, I'm pissed.
Yeah, that's happy to get that on the agenda.
Yeah, that would be great because I think, like you've said,
I'm sorry to pop your bubble, but it's fake.
A lot of the city. So yeah, we'd love an update on that. Thanks, Fran, for bringing that up too. All right, moving on to number 3. Here we go. Capital projects and deferred maintenance. So thinking about things that need to happen. Prioritize completing all capital projects that are in the pipeline. So something we talked about at the retreat was we want to push forward the final phase of projects, or initiate the project. If it's been on the plans and had gone through the master planning process for so many years, we really want to push those. So communities have been waiting many years for some of these promised projects, and we put a few examples. But we just think as a holistic system, we want to look at finishing projects that were started. And then we also want to complete deferred maintenance projects, including drinking fountains, expanding operational restrooms, and or porta potties. So fixing broken things and finding replacements when the old system doesn't work. Questions, comments on capital projects and deferred maintenance?
Yeah, I think so much pickleball. I never had time to do any videos.
All right.
Sounds like they took the gun and shot themselves.
Right along with mountain parks. Just we wanted to make sure it's in there, as mountain parks are a treasure. We support funding for capital improvements, maintenance, transportation, and for increasing public awareness and visits to our mountain parks. So something we've just talked about, making sure we're trying to get more people up there and increase the accessibility to our mountain parks, as well as refurbish some of those historic places. Number 5, equitable park experience. So, and when I was reading this last night, I kind of thought that number 5 and number 6 might actually be kind of combined as far as equity and safety, but that is easy enough to do if we agree with the thought behind both of them. So equitable park experience is to achieve equity. Everyone should live within a 10-minute walk or roll to high-quality park and have a positive and pleasurable park experience. Every park should include safety with adequate rangers, clean adequate trash cans, recycling bins, sanitary year-round restrooms or porta potties, be well-maintained, and have equitable infrastructure and amenities. And then safety, I'll read together, and that is everyone should be in parks, be safe in parks and be able to safely walk or roll to parks. So the accessibility to parks as well. Parks Park should be safe, bright, clean with adequate rangers, lighting, trash, and restrooms. And we urge DPR to work with DOTI to plan, fund, and complete projects that improve safe access like crosswalks to parks.
Okay.
And many communities have been waiting for those kind of connective points and these projects for years. So questions, comments about both safety and equity in parks?
I think they should be separate.
Okay.
Because safety is part of an equitable park experience, but the 6th point also includes access to.
Yeah.
And it also re-emphasizes the ranger part, which I think is a really important thing to re-emphasize.
Great. And Florence, yeah?
I was just going to agree because I think the equitable park experience, that last point, is totally separate from safety, about being have equitable infrastructure and amenities. So I think it is two different ideas there. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Yoli, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same, but also emphasize number 3. You know, we talked a lot about quality parks, so I think we need to, and that's part of what you describe also in number 5. So I do agree to keeping it separate because we're re-emphasizing the word quality, which we really talked a lot about that. So yeah.
That's great, and I think what you said, Yoli, makes a lot of sense as far as if we have things that fall under several categories, that actually elevates those as more priorities. Yeah, great. Thank you, everybody. That makes a lot of sense. All right, moving on to number 7, sustainability. We support the replacement of Kentucky bluegrass where appropriate, continued improvements to water efficiency and water quality, including eliminating sprinklers and medians, planting of native plants and perennial flowers, installing EV charging stations and solar panels, and planting new trees and maintaining them. We support the Community Forester Program and collaboration with community organizations that can help achieve these goals. We urge DPR to innovate around recycling bins that deter contamination. Lots of stuff in that, but I think those are important actions that we can encourage the department to take. Questions or comments, discussion? Okay, moving on to recreation. Recreation, thinking about all the different populations we have in our city. With the growing population of older adults, we urge DPR to prioritize older adults and expand My Denver Prime card participation. We can continue to sign up more students for My Denver card by collaborating with DPS and other schools and community organizations. And implement the Outdoor Adventure and Alternative Sports Master Plan by expanding recreation activities so there's something fun for everyone, including uniquely Colorado activities like skiing, snowshoeing, and hopefully expand summer outdoor pool hours as possible. Comments, questions about that? Great. All right, number 9.
I had a question on that one.
Go ahead, Trina.
And it may not have been that one, but did we have increased youth jobs or an apprentice? It was something that I thought we talked about on that one. Job opportunities.
I think yes, I remember that from the retreat, and we can easily just put that in here to increase opportunities for youth summer jobs. Great. Thank you. Fran, go ahead.
My question is how are we distributing the My Denver Prime card? Are we taking these to the schools themselves, both the DPS and charter, or how are we doing this?
Well, as far as I know, My Denver Prime card for older adults, I think they go to the rec center to get it. And then My Denver card, I believe students still need to go to the rec center to get it. Marlene, do you have that different information?
No, that's absolutely true. And maybe if we can clarify there that the My Denver is separate than the Prime, just because it looks like it's one card.
It does.
Those are 2 separate bullet points. The first one is older adults, My Denver Prime. The second point is My Denver card and students.
I think and Jolon can correct us, but I think that it's just My Denver relates to the youth and the prime.
So maybe just adding My Denver card, something about young people or youth or students.
Yeah.
On the
It says
it here.
Yeah, the wording in there is correct to what we call it. The My Denver card is for you. The My Denver Prime card is the one for active older adults. So that is the correct wording for what we use. You're more than welcome to add more clarity here, but for a document that's coming to us, we 100% got what you're saying here.
Like Friday's called the top
Yep,
day.
and I
So
think,
let's say they always have a top one. It's Friday.
Okay. I'm seeing why it's kind of bleeding together because it just looks similar. Maybe we even separate it and we just word it a little differently so that it's like my prime card and we ask for these, and then my Denver card youth and something like that. So we can add that.
You could put youth in a parenthetical. Sorry.
I think it's pretty clear, but okay.
There we go.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it's clear. Okay,
Now it's
so
clearer.
On the first one you should probably maybe start with the word seniors and then go into this.
It says with a growing population of older
Could I finish, please?
Yes, wait.
Could I finish, please?
Yes, go ahead.
I don't appreciate the overtalk. So on the first one, it should start with seniors. The second one should start with youth, and then you can have your thing the way you've written it. My other comment, and it was the original reason I raised my hand, is I don't believe that we're doing enough as Parks and Rec to advertise these My Cards. In other words, people are having to come to us to obtain them, and I would like to see us doing more outreach to encourage them obtaining them. So kind of a two-way street.
Make things up. It's
Okay, I'm trying to capture that while you're talking. Does that,
There's no gray.
just adding a bullet point, might increase accessibility and outreach to encourage more My Denver cards, and that's both youth and older adults.
Yeah, so just kind of a marketing thing on our side. I don't know if you're already doing that, and you guys need to educate me, but right now I don't feel we are.
Okay.
And I'm more than happy to try to coordinate on my side for any marketing we need to do through DPS. I know someone had mentioned that they had some difficulty, so I'd be happy to be a conduit to help support that as well.
Awesome, thank you, Trina. Go ahead, Marlene, and then Kendra.
I don't know something possible, but I think John shared with me there are a lot of My Denver cards that are not utilized. If we looked at the amount of My Denver youth cards, only about 33% of them were utilized last year. So I don't know if we want to put in there like we would like to increase it by 5% or something. And if that's something we usually do or don't. And I think they're also tracking, and John can correct me, unique visits versus
repeat. Yeah. Okay. I don't think that's necessarily something we should put on here, but I think that's something we should ask about at the recreation and bring it and share.
Okay.
Sounds good. Kendra, go ahead. Thank you.
I'll just add that we spent a lot of time on this, and so kind of like wordsmithing by committee is not that productive, and we're trying to make it really succinct. And so the first bullet point mentioned the words older adults twice, so now it says older adults 3 times. I'm not sure that's necessary, but it says to expand My Denver Prime Card participation, so I think that last bullet point you added is not needed, because that's what that first bullet point means. Marlene, I agree with you on that. The second point about youth, continue to sign up more students and increase participation or something. Because that is a new point. It's not reiterating the same point, but I would be fine with that. But we did spend a lot of time on this at the retreat, several hours.
Okay. Are we okay with how it looks now? I think that we kind of captured what we were just talking about and we clarified it. And if it's over clear, then it's over clear, and that's okay.
Just because they don't get punished doesn't mean they aren't.
Hopefully that feels okay for everybody for number 9, for number 8. And I think the recreation committee can certainly spend some time looking at the data for my Denver Prime and my Denver card and see that usage and try to see how we can help increase that. Jack, go ahead.
They can sue me, they have remedy. If I say defame them,
oh, you're unmuted.
They can come after me. But what I say is the truth. So they try to silence me.
How's that?
There you go.
I'm getting ambidextrous here. I got chat. Stay unmuted. This is good. You're done with recreation number 8. I wanted to ask if we could please revisit one little thing on number 7.
Sure. Let's go back. Can you go back, Arthur? Thank you.
Okay, sustainability. Want to call attention to where is it? Their efficiency planting. Okay, 3 sentences, third line down. Installing EV charging stations and solar panels. And I went right there after solar panels. I want to say, Kendra, this is an amazing document. I'm really impressed with it.
Yeah.
Can we consider, after solar panels, add, comma, batteries and geothermal? We got a battery into, I believe it's Central Park, as solar powered, Central Park Rec Center, and we have 1 geothermal system up and running already at Smith Road facilities and 1 going in Westwood Rec Center. I'd just like to show support for this by PRAB because these are important sustainability things. So this captures all of it: EV charging, solar, batteries, geothermal.
All right. Does that sound okay to everybody?
I don't know anything about those, so I mean, we didn't talk about them at the retreat. What do you mean batteries?
Kendra, there's a battery storage unit that was installed at Central Park, and it's capable of taking the solar power, storing it, and then discharging it at pretty good scale later when the sun goes down.
Did it say solar panels and batteries as one thing?
Yes,
and then
yeah, sure.
Flash battery storage. It's the complete integrated system.
Okay.
And it's just really cool that we've got 1, and we've got 2 geothermal heating cooling systems in, too.
Okay, and geothermal systems.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. All right. Great. Thank you. Moving on to number 9. There we go. Golf. Just a little mention of golf, just to encourage, and this isn't necessarily about funding from the department, it's about just keeping it on the radar and encouraging and explore revenue bonds and other funding to expedite capital projects and ensure that alternative golf activities like mini golf, foot golf, etc. are maintained and expanded. Support and preserve individual golf courses' history and expand the first tee participation. Comments, questions, thoughts about that one?
On the golf, the first bullet point. From what I understand, we don't have any funding products. These would be future. Is that correct? I
think
guess
so.
Jolon can answer that question.
Yeah.
On the existing revenue bonds or on the project list, are you saying?
I don't think any of our existing bonds cover capital projects for golf. Am I correct on that?
I want to be clear to distinguish between the GO bonds, which are general obligation bonds paid off by the general fund, and revenue bonds. Golf has in the past used revenue bonds to pay for capital projects. I believe they're all currently paid off, and so you could relook at new revenue bond debt to knock off capital projects moving forward, as we have done in the past. But they're completely separate from the GEO bonds that are going to voters possibly this November. They're not voted on; they're revenue based. You have to have a revenue model that shows payback. And it is a tool that golf has used in the past, but is currently not paying any debt off right now. They're all paid off.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That's good context. Other questions or comments about number 9? Okay, moving on to number 10. So number 10 is just about engagement and partnerships, and we talked quite a bit about this at our retreat. To ensure necessary staffing for community engagement and language access. So, and we even talked about potentially adding QR codes to park signage to give access in multiple languages and real-time information. So we really do believe that that's something that can happen in 2026. Just needs a little background development, and hopefully we can push that. We want to work with council members, schools, and other organizations to inform and increase participation in recreation. So kind of again, we had it in recreation, and we have it again as far as engagement. And we want to just increase our engagement with all people around the city. And better understand what parks and recreation related community organizations exist and how to better leverage partnerships to help support DPR's work. And then partner with organizations like CDPHE to try innovative approaches to improve restroom situations in parks. Restrooms in parks are a health issue and should be more of a priority. Comments, questions about engagement and partnerships?
I think we should add to that, besides every person, we should add every dollar, because partnerships are for every dollar too.
Definitely. Okay. Tate?
On the bottom part, I got them a little confused. How does CDPHE fit into restrooms? And then when we say restrooms, does that include temporary, like portalettes, or does that include permanent structures?
I think we don't want to say one or the other. It could be either. Restrooms or restroom. CDPHE, the Department of Public Health and Environment, I'll speak for myself, and I think we as a board can say we want to elevate the issue of restrooms in parks to a city issue. It exists in parks, but it is a citywide health issue to have parks that don't have restrooms and people are going in the park. So that's why that's in there.
Okay, I was going to say because the state has no money, so I don't know what they can do, but I appreciate the explanation.
No money, and I think this is just about actually looking at organizations type like that, and maybe it's not money, maybe it's creative ideas and innovation. Fran, go ahead.
I think uniquely Denver should be added.
Okay.
And I just want to clarify that you're talking about CDPHE, not DDPHE. So the Colorado Department of Health and Environment as your example, or did you want to use the Denver Department of Health and
Let's use Denver.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
Both, all of them, everybody. Come to Denver and give us restrooms and parks.
We don't want people pooping in the park. That's what it boils down to. But Fran, can you explain how that's uniquely Denver?
Because you're adding the partnerships, and the partnerships are all of us are about Denver, so it's uniquely Denver to me. I think the partnerships equate them.
They can be something special for Denver, I suppose. I don't see that as, I think that's fine. Questions about that? Thoughts? All right. Moving on to number 11. And this is just about eliminating things outside of our mission. So medians, for example, are not parks and don't align with the DPR's mission. and potentially that's something that could be eliminated, although it need to be replaced. So we don't know how that looks yet, and that's what this document doesn't do, is give the how-to. It's just an idea, and we're thinking that. And then addressing homelessness and cleaning encampments should not be funded by DPR. Fran, go ahead.
That's a question I've been wanting to ask for a long time since I've been on PRAB. Is just how are the mediums managed? Are the homeowners charged, or how does that work? Because some of them are pretty darn large, especially when you go along Colorado Boulevard and 17th Avenue and 16th Avenue. I mean 6th and 7th. Excuse me, I have this wrong. I've often wondered about their.
Oh yeah.
This is not for parkways, so I'll add that to clarify. This doesn't apply to parkways. I'll add that, Lee.
And it's more. This is more about medians like here on Colfax, for example, that are like those tiny little medians that just have like a few bushes and weeds in them. And how can that get redone? Because definitely the parkways on 17th and 6th are Parks property, and we do maintain those and that I don't think we want to change that. I think that's important. We're just wondering about the smaller street medians that, I don't know.
I'm glad I asked the question because I was taking them as parkways.
Yeah, no, I think that's important, and I'm glad we added that. That's important. Go ahead, Kim.
Thanks, Lee. I am sort of curious about this particular bullet, and I don't want to slow us down, just me being a newbie and having not covered sort of the median issue before. So I would love if there's like a point person who wouldn't mind like talking with me about that, because I imagine there's a lot of reason why we would want to think about like this is outside of DPR's mission. I think when I think of a holistic landscape and that some of our medians have trees in them, I think, it triggers other thinking in my mind. So I'd just love to chat a little bit more to understand more.
Absolutely. And I think we, as we think about something like this and we talk about medians, and we need to make sure that it's not detracting from our overall goal of increasing trees across the city. So maybe we just need to clarify that and it's not taking away necessarily the care and maintenance. It's having somebody else do it or do it differently. So that's where that's the exploration that we're encouraging. Tate, go ahead.
The second bullet point, I mean, I think we need to say that it does not apply to parks as well, because if there is an encampment in a park, that would be the responsibility, right, Jolon, of the rangers to address it initially, and then if it needs backup from DPD or additional resources.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd be interested, see where exactly this is coming from the board, but yeah, I mean, we certainly do a lot of that today through our rangers, but we also have the largest ranger program, I think, in the country of cities our size. And most cities, that kind of stuff would be dealt with through DPD, and they have authority in the parks. And so, again, I didn't see this from the conversations I remember as being just abandon the medians, don't take care of them, and abandon addressing homelessness and cleaning encampments. It's yes, that is a core city function, but it shouldn't be at the expense of parks budget, like where rangers are now doing a job that DPD could or should be doing, or that DDPHE could or should be doing. So that's, I think, how I was remembering the conversation was more about who could. But yeah, DPD has full authority within the park and could be addressing those encampments often as rangers who are doing that instead because of limited resources with DPD.
Thank you for that.
Thanks.
That makes sense. Go ahead, Kendra.
Jolon said it perfectly. Both of these things are really important, but it shouldn't come out of the parks budget. The parks budget is for the mission of Denver Parks and Rec, and those aren't in the mission. And Kim, I would be happy to talk to you about medians.
I was going to say, that's a Kendra bullet point.
Maybe there's also a way, because it's captured in the second bullet, should not be funded by DPR, but maybe there's a way to add a little bit of language in here that say, again, kind of what Kendra just said, these are both important for a city. They shouldn't be, they're outside of DPR's mission and shouldn't be funded by DPR, because that's captured kind of in one median, but maybe not across both median, one bullet, but maybe not across both. So maybe preamble to both, or in language in both that's, you know, I would guess the board doesn't want to come across saying, hey, just abandon the medians or abandon that. And I think you capture that in the second bullet better than in the first one.
Thank you. That makes a lot of sense. All right. Okay, PRAB, what do you think overall? Any comments, questions, issues, anything we must add that we didn't add? Hopefully we all feel that we all brought our unique perspectives and we're able to give our input to this. Go ahead, Fran.
I think it's a very thorough document. As you all know, I had COVID, so I couldn't participate. So thank you for your work.
Thank you, and we missed you, Fran. It was a good one. All right, with that, I would like to take, and I would like to say that I think Kendra and I can quickly just go through this and just check for grammar and do any final like little edits like that. We won't change any of the intention or any of the goals outside of this or recommendations, but I would like to hear a motion to actually, so what we're going to hear a motion to is to send this to Director Clark, and he will then take it to City Council and hopefully use it to inform the budget.
So moved.
Thank you, Fran.
That's what it is. They always call it Fridays.
I'll second.
Great. All right, then I believe we are going to take a vote on this, and I will say, and maybe Arthur, if you could stop sharing, that way we can see everybody. Thank you. And then I'll take a vote. So all those in favor of sending the budget as written with slight grammatical edits forward to Jolon Director Clark, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
All right. Oh, there we go. I saw Pam's hand. Drive safe, Pam. Drive safe. All right. Any no's?
We the people. We know public and private more than you.
Awesome. Any abstentions?
Are getting it wrong. Because there's no gray.
Wonderful.
That's a mistake.
Well, by golly, we have budget recommendations to send to Director Clark before they're due. So, thank you very much, and I want to just extend a huge thank you to Kendra and the whole committee. That was a lot of work, and it really was, it was well thought through and very intentional, and I'm very hopeful that as we are doing this better year after year, that it's better informing the department on priorities. So thank you for that, big time. All right, moving right ahead then, we're going to move on with our committee reports. And I would like to just start with actually the executive committee and just kind of share some of the updates from the retreat quickly. And first of all, we moved the committees to the 4th week instead of the 3rd week. So there's been slight changes, and Arthur cleaned up the invites and sent out new calendar invites for those committee meetings. We just moved them all from the 3rd week to the 4th week. We'll revisit that in 3 months and determine if that was the right move and if we need to adjust back or if that was correct. But I want to keep trying new things and trying to meet our needs and get that cadence down so that it makes sense as far as how we can address topics in a timely manner. And there's been some changes to those committee times. So operations meets now Wednesday at 5 o'clock. Recreation is still Thursday from 12 to 1. Sustainability is 2:30 on Wednesday, so that's a change. And then planning, design, funding, and accessibility is at 3 p.m. on Tuesday of that 4th week. And then of course we don't have 28-day months, so it's not going to be always exactly right. So every once in a while, it'll be the following week or the week before because of the way the days fall. So just pay attention to those emails or invites from Arthur. Let's see. I also will be sending out an email the Friday before, so the third week, I'll send out an email, and I've already set it up in my inbox or my outbox. So you should get an email that's a reminder. Hey, you have a committee meeting next week. Here are the times. If you cannot attend, please email Arthur and your committee chair so that they can determine should the meeting take place or not. So just a little a head notice for us. And then one thing for committees in the couple of weeks when you meet, I'm going to have a Google form that I'm just going to ask each committee to fill out, just one per committee, with some questions about times, with accomplishments, and some things that we didn't quite get to at our retreat. So hopefully that will be quick and easy. And then one thing I also really wanted to remind everyone is we just did our big budget recommendation process where we recommended holistically issues across the city, but we as district representatives have the opportunity to participate with our city council people in the CIP process, and that is happening right now. So that's the continuous improvement planning. What does that actually P stand for?
Capital Improvement Plan.
Capital Improvement Project. Thank
Projects.
you. Capital Improvement Projects, and that's our opportunity to sit with our council person and the parks planner for our area and really weigh in on issues in our district and also hear from our council people as far as how we can try to advocate for our districts in different areas. Meredith, go ahead.
Can someone please confirm who the East District Parks Planner is? I used to be in touch with Mallory, so I'm not sure who the new person is.
Well,
They haven't been replaced yet. So
yeah, it's all on a cloud yet.
So for the CIP process that I've been able to participate with Councilwoman Sawyer's office for many years now, just curious who will be leading that meeting.
I don't know for sure, but it may be Owen.
Yeah, it's either Owen Wells or Anna Claudia. Yeah. She's been doing the west side, so she may take on west and east this round to cover, or Owen Wells.
Yeah, so Meredith, just to be clear, and I'll add something to what Lee was saying. It is Anna Claudia who is scheduling all briefings with City Council members. Owen Wells and some of the other planning team do participate just because they have specific projects that they may want to talk about or anything like that. The one thing I do want to let everyone know is that the planners do schedule only directly with the council members. It would be upon the council members to reach out to you and invite you. So it is something that they schedule with council offices, and it would be up to them to invite you all.
Thank you for that reminder, Jesus. And I do think it is something that it's not that necessarily we wouldn't be invited as the appointed representatives from PRAB, but I think sometimes it would just slip somebody's mind, and even council people would think we would be invited to that. And so I just do encourage you to reach out to your city council person or their aide and at this point and ask when that will be happening, because it's happening soon. So let's see. So that's important. And then the last thing I want to say is just thank you to the youth members, the youth mentors who've signed up to take on and build a relationship with the different youth that are participating to help them develop their skills and understand how to participate and be involved with the PRAB. And the Recreation Committee next time we meet, we'll start talking about kind of rolling out that role more and really having a more clear understanding of a participation guide for our youth. So that's what I've got from executive. That was a lot, but I wanted to make sure and share that. I thought it made sense just to do that before committees. So now we'll go ahead and continue with our operations, maintenance, and budget. And I have a feeling our presentation was pretty much what the committee has been doing.
That is correct. And I do not know what's on the next agenda, so I cannot tell you, but I will get back to you on that.
No problem.
But can I ask you one question related to our students? I did offer to connect with Jack, but how am I going to do that? Is somebody going to send me his info or? Yeah.
I emailed last week. I emailed each mentor and mentee. And so let me know if it didn't go through. I got a couple bounced back, but from the youth, and I realized I had like entered the number wrong or something. So please let me know if you did it, because I think I sent that last Thursday-ish.
I will look. I was out of town and might have missed it, but I will look. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, thank you. Great. Okay. And then we've got our recreation committee, recreation and programming. Go ahead, Marlene.
Give me 1 second so I can go. I did for Council President Sandoval kind of a little bit of a detailed report on the rec center usage in our District 1. So if anybody else thinks they want that, let me know. So let me go to my documents so I can pull it up. And Riley, I got to meet Riley in person last night at one of our DPS community meetings. So it was great to meet her. She happened to sit next to me.
Oh, how funny, just by chance?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome to meet you.
Yeah.
It's so weird we just met up like that.
That's great.
Yes.
You know, it's meant to be.
Yeah, she said her name and I was like, oh my God, you're on PRAB. So for February, our total rec center usage was down a little bit by about 30,000 visits. We still had Carla Madison actually also in January. Carla Madison had 43,572 visits, and in February 37,619. So that was also down. Overall, everything was down in February. Maybe people are gung-ho in January and then they take a break in February. Maybe it was really cold a lot of days.
It was.
And so for our youth as well, the youth actually was also down by about 2,000, a little over 2,000 visits from youth in February as well. And for our seniors, the same. Seniors overall, our prime in January was 43,345. In February, 39,058. So down all around in the month of February. And Trina and I will be setting up a meeting with John to go over some strategies for creating our partnerships with DPS. Trina has her hand up.
Yeah, I had a question on the data. So is that looking at year over year? So like February last year to February this year to kind of compare the trend to see if just the month of February is just kind of a low month? Or is that just looking at from January to February?
I just looked at January to February, and I don't have the piece of paper in front of me. But I think it was only about a 2% increase, I think, in my Denver from last year. But it was a 13% increase overall from last year.
Okay.
That's helpful. So youth down, and then, as I said earlier, with all the My Denver memberships, only about 33% of them, average 30%, are actually utilized. So not only would we want to think about how do we increase that, but people getting a My Denver card, but really we want to increase the utilization. It seems as though a lot of them have it and not all of them use it.
That's great. Thank you. Awesome. All right, sustainability. And Jack sent us an email, or Arthur sent an email, I believe, from Jack about water resources and whatnot. Do you want us to put that on the screen, Jack?
I'll leave it up to you if you want to go through it, or I could just explain what's going on.
Sure.
And we could set an agenda item at a future meeting to do it. Which would you prefer? We've already been through a detailed document tonight. Well, it's the one of bullets.
We have, but it's important stuff, and I think we could pretty quickly go through it. Do you want to just talk about the big picture stuff?
Well, maybe put it up, and I'll just talk about it. People can read it.
Great. Let's see. I can do that. Step one. Okay. Oh boy. Maybe.
That's why I wasn't going to complicate things.
Yeah, it's not going to let me. I don't know if Arthur has it easy, but because I'm on my school computer, it's like, nope, you can't.
Okay, let's just roll without it.
Okay, I'll keep trying.
Don't try too hard.
Okay.
You don't have, because again, we can bring this up. This is that there's no timeline on what's going on here. What I could say is we looked at water quality from the perspective of parks users or people that use park assets to get to water. And we're looking at this particularly because within Denver, city and county of Denver in particular, so many of the lakes and ponds, they're in our parks. And then there's all the streams. We have parks alongside South Platte River, Cherry Creek, whatnot. We have parkways along them too. People are using our Denver park systems to get at water for a lot of purposes. Stand-up paddling, walking around, fishing, this, that, and the other. We did some research. Lauren Morales helped a lot on us finding key websites at the city level. Denver Department of Public Health and Environment has a water quality page. The state has a water quality and algae bloom page. And we found what we had on Denver Parks, which was really over in a boating page that refers you back to Public Health and Environment's page. We were struck by some of the advisories and recommendations that are out there that really would be better if they were a little more visible to parks users, which has led us to, we think some of this should be consolidated and available on parks website and not in a buried place. It's like, what we try to do is just cull through what particularly Department of Public Health and Environment has said here and make it concise, boil it down a little bit. We tried to stay absolutely with what they were saying, and we boiled it down here, and we'd like to ask that the department consider this information or something similar and get it at a visibility level where if you're on the park's website and you're finding a park because you're looking at a water feature you want to take your stand-up paddleboard for, you want to go fishing in, you're likely to see a little link to water quality and safety. And we've got it boiled down here. At this point in time, it's being shared within parks because we thought it time to get a reality check. So what we're hoping to do is have eyes on it from the safety division, because this is all safety stuff. This is contaminated water, don't eat fish, algae blooms, things like that. Also from the marketing and communications division, because we're talking about making this visible. Obviously, deputy director level. So that's where this is. It's out there. We'll see. It gives. We tried to pull together the advisories and recommendations. We saw a couple more that made common sense to us, and then linked to Parks' voting website, Parks, Public Health and Environment for Denver website, and the state website, which also does algae blooms. And at the state, people can look up, for instance, we have a little bullet in here about, if we're talking about waters in or adjacent to Denver mountain parks, check with the state resource and check the local health department. So we're talking Bear Creek by Kittredge, Evergreen Lake, Echo Lake, things like that. So anyway, that's what we've laid out here, and we look forward to hearing back some feedback from the department, and we're fine with scheduling a more thorough discussion of this, maybe when we get some feedback from them. Like, this is a really dumb idea, or, we'll see.
Hopefully not. I think this is really not a dumb idea. I think people should know what they're getting into in water.
Yeah, and a few simple precautions. Wear appropriate footwear, especially on your children, and you're having to walk around in the pond. Things like that. So our next item up is going to be we get a spring, usually a wildlife management report. So we're looking forward to that. Find out how our resident geese population is doing and whatnot.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you for putting that together too. I think those type of recommendations and information is what we do want at parks in the form of a quick link to check. So I think that's great.
Yeah.
Connects to a lot of things. Thank you. Yeah, and I'm curious how that can proceed and what that might look like. So definitely continuing to work with the marketing department and like you said, whoever else from the department to try to figure that out.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. And now we have our Planning, Design, Funding, and Accessibility Committee.
Okay, so just one thing we started with, and this is something that we're going to continue to put more emphasis on as we proceed. Reviewing the public comments that are assigned to the planning committee, and are we following up with the responses? And if so, really, okay, who's making the response? Who's, where's it at? What's the status? So, going to try to continue to focus on that as we open our meetings. As we did have one last time around, so we'll just see where the executive committee makes the assignments on these last comments. The other thing we did, we spent a lot of time last meeting. Gordon came in, spent some time with us and just talked about, he gave us an overview of some of the key projects and things to look forward to, or just to be aware of as more information comes out. For example, he talked a little bit, of course, as we know, Park Hill, and Jolon, I heard you say last time around that we're going to use the reference Park Hill Park. So until we get more information on that, so we'll try to be consistent with that reference. We talked a little bit about, something to really pay attention to, as many of you may have already been getting email messages about participating in the Vibrant Bonds discussions that are coming in out in all the council districts. Something else that he brought up to our planning committee was, of course, paying attention to the CIP for 26. Some of the key items that have to do with just individual projects in the districts, the Southeast Skate Park, and of course, continuing to focus on mountain parks, thinking about the vision plan for Echo Lake and Lookout Mountain and all these different projects that are either in the middle of or really coming to bigger projects, just really getting involved with those. Another thing had to do with the museum, Buffalo Bill Museum, and that's something that's going to really be ramping up as far as the attention given to that project. So it was just a really broad overview as far as what we could pay attention to as far as information coming out and how we can participate, which led us to our next question to Gordon was, what can planning do to really get this information or get things out to our city council, to the communities? And he said that's where we really need to continue to work on our two-way communication with planning staff and with our communities, providing feedback. Is the information getting out? What do we need to do differently? Spread the word. That's ongoing. So that's something that we really need to continue to focus on as well, which ties in with responding to our public comments. It both has to do with our communication with the public. So it sounds like those were a couple of things we talked a little bit more about, and for us to continue to focus, which kind of led to we were starting our discussion on goals and accomplishments and trying to have something together for the retreat. But since we didn't get to that point in the retreat, we do have, Lee, I heard you say that we'll be getting a document with some questions on that. So we'll be prepared for that discussion at our next meeting next week, right? The fourth week? No, third week, fourth week.
Yep, 2 weeks.
That's 2 weeks. Then we'll have some more information to move forward with on that. And the only other thing is our agenda for next meeting, also for the next planning meeting, just so that you know, is we're going to get a presentation about the permit process, basically because we've had a few comments coming in from the public revolving around the noise situation, violations, and how to help us to understand what we can do to, do something, or how do we respond to that when these issues come to us as board members. So we're going to get a little bit of more information about that at our next meeting, along with Gordon suggested we'll also come through and have a little bit more discussion on CIP. That will help us as the planning committee, again, be familiar with what's coming out and what we should be able to pay attention to. Hello, Kitty. And moving forward with that. So those are the 2 agenda items for next month's meeting. I mean, next week. Gosh, I'm ahead of myself. My time is all off. So, and just for information for our planning group, I will not be there on next Tuesday for a 3 o'clock meeting. So we'll need some help on moving that forward and just carrying on the discussion. And I know that's not going to be it's not going to be hard to do, because permit process is something that we're very interested in, just because of the public comments that we've received and what we want to get out of that. So anybody else at our meeting last week that you'd like to add to some of our conversation that took place last month? Okay, well, with that, I'll turn it back to you.
Great, thank you so much. It's a busy committee, it sounds like. There's lots going on, so thank you for bringing that forward. I know, just cycle through.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your participation in committees. We know that's another lift, and we appreciate your involvement with that. And now I'll turn it over to Jolon for our Executive Director's Report.
Thank you very much. Couple of updates for you. This year, DPR transferred 22 of our yearling bison to 3 different tribes, as well as 2 tribal nonprofits. To date, that brings the total transferred bison up to 140 animals to 10 different tribes and tribal entities. Unlike in past years, we didn't have an open public event. Each tribe came and had ceremony and celebration in a way that worked for them as they came to collect their animals. I will say it was a very emotional time for a lot of the tribal members. This was the beginning of brand new herds for a couple of the groups, and the first time that they were really bringing bison home. And so just one of the most powerful, coolest things that the department is a part of. And so if you have never come to one of those, that was our last one for this year, but I would invite you to join us at one next year, because it really is a pretty special day, awesome chance to get to see the animals up close, and then wish them on their way as they return home. And then we also added 3 new bulls to the Genesee and Daniel Park herds this year. The bulls were generously gifted to the mountain parks by CSU and the Rocky Mountain Arsenal National Wildlife Refuge. So big stuff for our 2 herd of bison. This month on the Denver Playcast, our Parks and Recreation podcast, you'll hear from Downtown Parks Program Manager Jen Harris about changes coming to Civic Center, so definitely tune in for that. It is a ton of fun if you haven't already listened. The Office of the City Forester's Be a Smart Ash program offers free right-of-way tree plantings, which focus on single-family residential homes in the city. So residents can apply online and have their properties adjacent right-of-way assessed for tree planting. Over 1,300 trees are planted each year in the spring and fall season at no cost to residents. So see if you're eligible and apply today. That link will be dropped in the chat. The Park Hill Park, as you heard, I will I don't refer to it as the Park Hill Golf Course anymore, even though we don't own it quite yet, but Park Hill Park, because we are definitely not planning to rebuild a golf course there, but to build an awesome park. So we had our RFP for firms to lead the visioning process was open and recently closed, so soon we'll be able to announce a design firm getting selected to work on that, and with that kind of cadence for public engagement around Park Hill Park. Our forestry team was also out and already has done an assessment of all the trees and the tree health of all the trees on the property, and as I've shared before, we have been watering, because I know that was a big concern about the trees not getting enough water, and so we've been watering to make sure that they're getting that water, and so get ready for ways to get involved with the planning around our newest regional park, and if you know of any community events that the team should be getting out at this spring, summer, please reach out to Laura. And on the recreation side, youth basketball season will culminate on Saturday at Montbello Rec Center. 14 championship games on 2 courts from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. So if you want to get out and support our youth, you can reach out to Arthur and Laura with questions on how to come see championship youth basketball happening. We're also prepping for spring sports already with 296 confirmed teams for flag football, soccer, and indoor volleyball, which will all start up in April. Our spring registrations total already are at 6,395 registrations. So spring is in full swing at our recreation side. A couple of engagement opportunities that are coming up. The GVR West Public Meeting number 2 is on Zoom on 3/13 tomorrow. Clear Creek Trail Public Meeting is at Centennial Elementary School on 4/3. And then a survey for the new park coming to U Hills at Bethesda Park will close on Friday. So if you haven't had a chance to take a look at that survey, it is closing soon. And then we also have our My Denver Youth and Parent Survey, which will be closing on the 15th. So Friday, Saturday of this week. And then Vibrant Denver Bond public meetings started up this week. So you can see where your council rep is hosting theirs and take an online survey. But there will be bond meetings happening all across the city to talk about what does community want to have in the Vibrant Denver Bond. And we're hoping that a lot of those projects will be parks and recreation center improvements and all the fun stuff that we do. So get involved in the public meetings around the Vibrant Denver Bond. So those were my updates for today, but as always, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have on those things or anything else.
Thank you. Go ahead, Marlene.
Can girls play flag football? Do you have girls teams all the way up to the 14 and under age? Now that DPS has flag football, has become extremely popular.
Flag football is definitely taking up. I'm trying to pull up the spring thing to see exactly what age groups that we have for which groups. I don't have that right in front of me, and I'm struggling to find the right screen to look that up. So maybe we can send that out to you with with our spring activity guide. It has everything that we have available, but we can get you exactly what ages we're doing for which sports.
Great. And then I also wanted to share, I should have said this at the start of the meeting, but if we can all send Fran an email. She's going to be inducted to the Colorado Women's Hall of Fame this weekend. So that would be a great email to send to Fran. I wish I could have mentioned it before she got off.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Marlene. I know I was able to talk to her a little bit about it. It's quite an honor. I think that's next Friday that she's doing that. She'd prepared a little video, and she's going to have some VIP treatment, so that's very, very nice for her career service. Awesome. Other questions for Jolon? Comments? All right. In that case, do we have other announcements from the board? Go ahead, Kate.
April 26th, we are going to do a bison dung collection event. It's really good fertilizer at Genesee. I will have more details later because we're just sort of figuring this all out. But you can come and pick up bison poop and go and fertilize your garden, and won't that be cool?
Yeah. Do you have to bring like your own bag of?
It is a
gas,
bring
or
your
what?
own
How does this work?
bucket. It is a bring your own bucket, bring your own shovel and gloves. And although we are working on finding ourselves a collection of strapping young teenagers, boys and girls, to help with the carrying of said dung. So this is personal use only, carry only, no skid steers, no backhoes, flatbed trailers. You can come and get some fertilizer. It's very, very good fertilizer for your garden. And so there will be a small.
I would love an email about that. I'm happy.
We'll get out more stuff. We just figured out the date.
That just sounds very unique.
It sounds fun.
And it'll be fun to talk about and a distraction from everything else.
Exactly, and you can scoop your own BS and load it into your car.
Your own food.
Anyway, thank you, Kate, for that. Unique, as Kim said, uniquely Denver. We and what a cool thing that is that we have, and that I think sharing, bison and having bison herds, we're trying to repopulate across the West, and I think that's incredible. That's action. So thank you. And thank you to all of you guys for being here tonight on this lovely March evening. And with that, I think I will adjourn the meeting and say Marlene, one more. Go ahead, Marlene.
I just wanted to check. I think we only have one student left, but if he had any questions or any comments or anything you wanted to share with us.
Oh yeah, we have two. I think Tasneem was still here, and also Riley.
If they have anything they want to ask about, share, comment, feedback.
Nothing I can think of right now, but it was a really nice meeting. It's just nice to hear in and listen in. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you, Riley.
Yeah, same here. It was an amazing meeting. Thank you so much.
Good. Thanks for coming tonight. Go ahead, Kim.
Thanks, Lee. Sorry, folks. I just realized this might be my one opportunity to say, as we come upon spring, Denver Digs Trees is gearing up, and around basically April 22nd through 27th, we're going to have a whole bunch of activities bringing in about 1,400 trees that'll go out free and affordable for our Denver communities. And so we'll have a big tree unloading day over at City Park. At the greenhouse, where DPR lets us stage our trees for what's going to end up being 4 days of distributing trees to the folks who've signed up for them, and then we'll also have a tree sale. So all that to say that we are just about to start recruiting volunteers who help staff that really full, busy week. So if you know folks who would be excited to help do some good Earth Day, Arbor Day-ish time stuff, getting their hands dirty and getting baby trees out to neighborhoods. We'll also have planting crews. So actually I'm going to just pop in. This is not the best link, but anybody who's interested can check out and contact, either look at our website or sign up for our volunteer listserv. Then we'll have email blasts going out about the opportunities coming up. So thanks.
Thanks, Kim. Florence, go ahead.
Just really quick, I wanted to share some kudos from visitors at Sloan Rec Center who are really happy with some work that was done on the front lobby to match up the floor with the floor behind the desk. And so they redid the floor in the open area. And I gotta tell you, what seems like something so minute really raises the spirits and is the talk of the town in that part of town right now. So just know that all those little improvements matter, especially with centers that are some of our older rec centers. So again, just wanted to share kudos that took place, and it's a good thing. So thank you.
Thank you. Good reminder, small stuff matters, and communities don't see the whole city. So they don't care if there's another great rec center across the city sometimes. So just in their own communities, that's awesome. Thank you. All right. Well, good night, everyone. Committee chairs, please watch your email for a request, a form that I'll send out. I'll send it to everybody, but just make sure you take care of that at your next committee meeting with just some kind of questions, reflection. All right. Thank you so much for coming, and have a wonderful night.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Arthur, will you email me Jolon's report, please?
You got it.
Thank you. Have a good night. Bye.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you. Welcome back, Laura. Just jumping right in. All right, look at that. 7:04. Good job. Bye.
Yay. All right, we're started.
Great.